Every year, tens of thousands of luxury SUVs roll into dealerships with problems nobody can fix. The transmission keeps failing. The electrical system is a disaster. The engine shuts off on the highway. The dealer tries once, twice, 3 times, and still cannot get it right. So what happens next? They do not just magically get fixed. They do not disappear. And they definitely do not get crushed. There is an entire hidden pipeline that most people have no idea exists. A shadow market worth billions of dollars where problem vehicles quietly change hands, get washed through auctions, and end up back on the road, sometimes with a new owner who has absolutely no idea what they are buying. Today I am pulling back the curtain on exactly what happens to luxury SUVs that dealers secretly know they cannot fix. And some of the models showing up in this pipeline are brands you would never expect. Stay until the end, because number 1 might completely change how you shop for a used car. First, let us talk about how a car becomes unfixable. You buy a brand new luxury SUV that cost $80,000. Within the first year, something major goes wrong. You bring it in. The dealer fixes it or tries to. A month later, the same problem comes back. You bring it in again. They replace a module, reflash the computer, maybe swap a transmission. It comes back again. Now you have been through this 3 or 4 times for the same issue, and the dealer service manager is starting to avoid eye contact when you walk in. At this point, 2 things are happening simultaneously. First, you might actually have legal rights. Most states have lemon laws that require manufacturers to repurchase a vehicle if the same defect cannot be fixed after 3 or 4 attempts, or if the car has spent more than 30 days in the shop within the first year. That is the public-facing version of the story. The manufacturer buys the car back and issues a settlement. The manufacturer buyback title and why it is a red flag nobody talks about. When a manufacturer buys back a lemon, the vehicle gets retitled in most states with a manufacturer buyback or lemon law buyback designation stamped directly on the title. Sounds straightforward, right? Here's the problem. Not every state requires that disclosure. And even in states that do, these vehicles frequently get transported across state lines before resale, because once you retitle a car in a state that does not mandate lemon law disclosure, that paper trail gets murky fast. Mannheim Auctions, the largest wholesale auto auction network in the world, processes more than 8 million vehicles a year across more than 100 locations. A significant chunk of those are manufacturer buybacks, fleet disposals, and vehicles with documented, unresolved issues. Dealers buy from Mannheim constantly. Independent used car lots buy from Mannheim constantly. And many of those buyers know exactly what they are getting. They bank on the next buyer not knowing. The auction system was designed for the industry, not the consumer. That is the foundation of this whole pipeline. Now let us talk about which specific luxury SUVs are flooding it right now. Number 10, Range Rover Sport from 2023 to 2024. The Range Rover Sport starts at $84,000 and has been showing up at wholesale auctions at an alarming rate. Land Rover has ranked dead last or near the bottom in J.D. Power reliability surveys year after year. The 2023 and 2024 Sport brought a turbocharged inline-6 with a mild hybrid system that sounds brilliant on paper and creates absolute chaos in practice. Electrical gremlins cascade through the entire vehicle. The air suspension fails. The infotainment system locks up. One owner on the Land Rover forums documented 9 separate service visits in 11 months. 9. The dealer eventually told him, verbatim, that they had done everything they could. What happens next? Land Rover buys it back. The vehicle gets shipped to a remarketing company, think AutoNation, CarMax's wholesale arm, or an independent middleman, and then it goes to auction. Dealers in states with looser disclosure requirements buy it for $40,000, put a fresh detail on it, and list it on their used lot for $62,000. The new buyer gets none of the service history. Some of these end up exported entirely. There is a thriving gray market in Eastern Europe, the Middle East, and West Africa for American spec luxury SUVs. A problem, Range Rover Sport, that no U.S. dealer can move, gets containerized in New Jersey and sold in Lagos or Tbilisi for a premium, because the brand name still carries weight in those markets, even when the mechanical reality does not. Number 9. Cadillac Escalade from 2021 to 2023. The Escalade is America's status symbol on wheels. A $100,000 starting price, and somehow it still has electrical problems that feel like they belong in a 1993 Oldsmobile. The big issue on the 2021 through 2023 generation is the 10-speed automatic transmission paired with the 6.2-liter V8. Owners are reporting harsh, clunky shifts from day one. General Motors issued multiple technical service bulletins, none of which actually solved the problem. Forum threads on Escalade Owner Club have hundreds of posts from people who have had their transmission replaced once, twice, and still have the same shudder at 35 miles per hour. When an Escalade becomes unfixable in the traditional dealer sense, the wholesale value does not drop as dramatically as you would think, because the Escalade badge still means something at auction. Dealers will routinely pick up a 2022 Escalade with documented transmission issues for $65,000 at a Manheim Lane, add a 2-year powertrain warranty from a third-party provider, and retail it for $82,000. The third-party warranty sounds great until you try to use it and discover the company denies claims based on technicalities. One owner in Texas bought a 2022 Escalade from an independent lot, had the transmission fail at 31,000 miles, and watched the warranty company deny the claim, citing a pre-existing condition. He paid $14,000 out of pocket. The dealer who sold it to him had known about the transmission history the entire time. The auction record showed it. He just never asked for it. Number 8. BMW X7 from 2023 to 2024. The X7 is BMW's flagship 3-row SUV. The base price is $90,000. BMW's iDrive infotainment system on the 2023 and 2024 models has been an absolute disaster in ways BMW will never publicly admit. Over-the-air software updates have bricked systems. Owners have woken up to SUVs that will not start because a background update failed overnight. The cameras malfunction. The heads-up display goes dark. The adaptive suspension gets confused and cannot decide what mode it is in. Here is the specific thing BMW does with these, and it is different from most brands. BMW Financial Services, their captive lending arm, is deeply involved in the remarketing pipeline. When a leased X7 comes back with documented issues, or when a buyback happens, BMW's internal remarketing division sells through a network called BMW Dealer Exchange. The vehicle gets inspected, the serious issue gets noted in an internal database that dealers can access, and then it goes up for bid. Independent dealers technically have access to this same system, but they have to know to look. Most retail consumers have zero access, so a 2023 X7 that spent 60 days at the dealer for electrical failures gets purchased by a dealer in a different region, and unless the new buyer runs a comprehensive Carfax and specifically looks for service records, which Carfax does not always capture from dealer internal systems, they are driving blind. Before we go further, if this is opening your eyes to something the car industry has been hiding in plain sight, hit that like button right now. It genuinely helps us keep making videos like this. Number 7. Jeep Grand Wagoneer, from 2022 to 2024. At $103,000, the Grand Wagoneer was supposed to be Jeep's shot at the luxury SUV stratosphere. Instead, it became one of the most problematic vehicles Stellantis has ever produced, which is saying something given Stellantis's track record lately. The 6.4-liter Hemi 5.8 has oil consumption issues. The infotainment system, which Jeep actually marketed as a selling point with all those screens, freezes and reboots, and in some cases requires a complete replacement of the head unit. Owners have reported the surround sound system going silent, the digital cluster going black, and the engine management system throwing codes that the dealer software can't even identify. The Wagoneer situation is made worse by something specific to Stellantis. Their dealers are desperate. Stellantis has been in financial freefall. Dealers who were sitting on Wagoneers for 90, 120, and 180 days were already discounting new ones by $20,000. When unfixable ones come back through buybacks, they go straight to ADESA Auctions, the second largest auto auction network in North America. ADESA runs lanes specifically designated for as-is, no warranty vehicles. Dealers and wholesalers at those lanes know exactly what as-is means. They buy these Wagoneers for $45,000 to $55,000 for a vehicle that originally stickered at $103,000, flip them to small independent lots, and those lots move them with clean-looking Carfax reports because the underlying mechanical issues were never formally documented as recalls. Number 6. The Mercedes-Benz GLE 53 and GLE 63 AMG, 2021 to 2024. Mercedes AMG models come with a specific kind of problem that makes them especially difficult to fix. They are technologically complex in ways that even trained Mercedes technicians struggle with. The 48-volt mild hybrid system on the GLE 53 has been a recurring nightmare. The EQ boost integrated starter generator fails. When it does, the vehicle loses both its mild hybrid functionality and, in some cases, the ability to start entirely. Mercedes dealers can replace it, but the replacement often fails too. Service bulletins on this specific issue have been issued multiple times with no permanent fix in sight. When a GLE AMG hits unfixable status, it enters a more rarefied auction tier. These vehicles go through Mannheim's specialty lanes, the lanes designated for luxury and exotic vehicles. Bidders at these lanes are often export specialists. The Middle East market is insatiable for AMG products, and a GLE 63 that was bought back in the US for $65,000 can be shipped to Dubai, retitled, and sold to a buyer who simply does not care about the 48-volt system problems because the climate there barely triggers them, and AMG dealers in the United Arab Emirates have different diagnostic capabilities. It is a global arbitrage of broken luxury cars that works because the information never crosses the ocean with the vehicle. Number 5. Lincoln Navigator, from 2022 to 2024. The Navigator is Ford's $100,000 answer to the Escalade. On paper, it is a competitive vehicle. Great engine, beautiful interior, solid towing numbers. But there is a specific catastrophic issue plaguing models from 2022 to 2024, the twin turbocharged 3.5-liter EcoBoost timing chain system. When these engines develop timing chain issues, and they do with increasing frequency as owners pass the 30,000 to 50,000 mile mark, a full repair runs $8,000 to $12,000. Dealers have been trying to get Ford to cover these under warranty, and Ford has been pushing back, calling them maintenance issues. A Navigator with a timing chain flag in its service history becomes essentially unsellable at retail. No informed buyer wants it. So here's what happens. The owner trades it in at the dealer. The dealer knows exactly what is wrong. They value it at $40,000 on a vehicle that would be worth $72,000 clean. The owner, desperate to get out of it, takes the loss. The dealer sends it to auction the next day as a trade-in with engine noise, as is. A wholesale buyer purchases it for $38,000, has a gray market repair done at an independent shop using aftermarket timing chain components, and it goes back on a used lot for $58,000. The fix might last 2 years, or it might last 6 months. The next buyer has no idea which. Number 4. Porsche Cayenne e-hybrid from 2019 to 2023. Here is one that surprises people. Porsche, the brand with the legendary reliability reputation. But plug-in hybrid systems introduced a specific vulnerability that Porsche has not been able to fully tame: the high-voltage battery pack and its thermal management system. On Cayenne e-hybrids, from 2019 through 2023, the battery cooling system fails in ways that trigger a cascade of warnings. The vehicle goes into a reduced power mode. Then, sometimes it will not charge at all. Porsche dealers have been replacing battery modules piecemeal, but the underlying thermal management software continues to cause problems. What makes the Cayenne situation uniquely ugly is the cost. A full high-voltage battery replacement on a Cayenne e-hybrid costs $40,000 or more out of warranty. That is not a typo. So when one of these comes back as a buyback, or even as a trade-in with a battery flag, the auction value drops to the floor. They sell for $35,000 to $45,000, depending on the year, for a vehicle that was $105,000 new. They go to specialty EV and hybrid rebuilders who replace the battery with refurbished cells, and then they go back on the market. Some of those refurbished battery packs carry a 12-month warranty. Some carry nothing at all. One owner in Florida bought what he thought was a clean 2021 Cayenne e-hybrid from a small lot and lost complete charging ability 9 months later. The battery that had been installed was a third-party refurbished unit. He did not know. There was nothing on the title to tell him. Number 3. Tesla Model X from 2021 to 2022. Tesla operates completely outside the traditional dealer auction pipeline, which sounds like it would make things better. It does not. When a Tesla Model X has unfixable problems, and the 2021 and 2022 models had plenty, from failing Falcon Wing door actuators to touchscreen failures to full drive unit replacements, Tesla service centers issue a buyback or settlement through their internal process. Those vehicles then go to Tesla certified pre-owned inventory, or they get sold through Tesla's own used inventory online. Here is the problem. Tesla's internal used listings do not disclose prior buyback status in the same way a third-party title would. There is no easy way for a consumer to know they are buying a former service nightmare unless they specifically request the full service history in writing. And even then, Tesla's service notes can be vague. One owner purchased a 2021 Model X long range from Tesla's used inventory for $74,000 in 2023. Within 3 months, the Falcon wing doors failed again. The same issue documented in the vehicle's pre-sale service history that he never received. Tesla's response was that the repair was not covered because it had been previously addressed. He was now responsible for a $4,200 actuator repair on a car he had owned for 90 days. Number 2, Land Rover Defender from 2020 to 2023. The Defender relaunch was supposed to be one of the great automotive comeback stories. Off-road credibility, modern technology, iconic looks. What it actually delivered was one of the worst warranty experiences in the luxury segment. The inline-six engine, with its mild hybrid system, the same basic architecture as the Range Rover Sport that we discussed, fails in ways that are almost creative. Engines have consumed their own oil. Turbochargers have failed before 20,000 miles. The transmission software has caused lurching and hesitation that no software update has resolved. Electrical systems have failed so completely that some owners had their Defenders towed from their own driveways without ever leaving. Land Rover has bought back hundreds of Defenders in the United States. And here is where the pipeline gets truly global. Land Rover's parent company, Tata Motors, routes many of these buyback vehicles through an international remarketing program. American spec Defenders in left-hand drive with United States safety equipment are containerized and shipped to markets in the Middle East and sub-Saharan Africa, where Land Rover is a prestige brand and where consumer protection laws are either non-existent or unenforced. A Defender that Land Rover bought back in California for $72,000 gets sold in Riyadh for the equivalent of $95,000, roughly a year old with low miles. The buyer knows they are getting a used American vehicle. They do not know it was a documented lemon. The markup is extraordinary. The pipeline is entirely legal, and it happens thousands of times a year. Number 1, it is the infrastructure that makes all of this possible, and understanding it changes how you will buy a car for the rest of your life. In the United States, there are over 150 dealer-only wholesale auction facilities. You cannot buy there as a consumer. You cannot even get in the door without a dealer license. Mannheim and Edesa together sell over 12 million vehicles annually. A significant percentage of those are what the industry calls problem units, vehicles with unresolved mechanical or electrical issues that have been quietly removed from retail inventory by the original selling dealer. These cars are legal to sell at auction. Dealers are required to disclose known defects in some states, but enforcement is inconsistent, and the as-is designator effectively transfers all risk to the buyer. The buyer at that auction is often a small independent lot with 5 to 20 cars on the lot. They do not have the diagnostic equipment of a franchise dealer. They do a visual inspection, maybe run the engine, and they bid. They are betting they can resell it to a retail consumer before the problem resurfaces, or that the retail consumer will not connect the dots. Sometimes they are right. Sometimes the car runs fine for 2 years and nobody ever knows. And sometimes a family drives it off the lot on a Friday, has a catastrophic failure on the freeway on Saturday, and spends the next 18 months in a legal battle trying to get their money back. The solution is simple, but it requires discipline. Before you buy any used luxury SUV, get a pre-purchase inspection from an independent mechanic, not one affiliated with the selling dealer. Pull a Carfax and an auto check, because they use different data sources and sometimes catch things the other misses. Search the vehicle identification number in the NHTSA database to see if it has been involved in a buyback or a recall completion. And specifically ask the seller in writing if the vehicle has ever been subject to a manufacturer or dealer buyback. If they lie in writing, that is fraud. Most sellers will not lie in writing. Many will suddenly become a lot less enthusiastic about the sale. The auction pipeline exists because most buyers do not know it exists. Now you do. That is the hidden secret the dealer industry does not want you to understand. These cars do not just disappear. They get recycled back into the market. They get cleaned up, relisted, repriced, and sold to someone who trusted a smiling salesperson and a fresh detail job. Do not be that person. That is all for today. If this video opened your eyes, please do me a favor and share it with someone who is about to buy a Z luxury SUV. It could save them from a very expensive mistake. Hit that subscribe button and the bell icon so you catch our next breakdown. Drop a comment below and let me know which one of these surprised you the most. I read every single one. Thank you for watching. See you next time.